Hey homeschoolers, this is Jim Pence with See the Light, and in this week's digital art project we're going to go a step further. Last time we did a what I call a marigold mandala. I want to show you something that you can do with layers and how to use multiple layers to color in a drawing. Last time we worked on a single layer. This time we're going to expand that a little bit, and I'll show you some really cool things that you could do. So for starters, I just have a new document, and I haven't really set it to a particular size. I'm just using the default document size that opens with Sketchbook. And to start us out, we're going to be using the layers panel more today. So you notice we start out with a background layer, and then it always starts with the layer on top of the background. I always like to work on a toned paper, and so I come over here to this little circle. If I click in that gives me a color picker. And most of the time, again, it varies depending on what I'm trying to draw, but most of the time I like sort of a neutral gray tone. And what that does is it helps the whites and the brighter colors show up better than if it's a stark white background. So I've got my neutral gray tone set, and what I'm going to do on my first layer, in fact I'm going to switch over here. I've got it on Airbrush right now. That's why you see that kind of big bluish spot in the middle. I'm going to come over here to my paintbrush, and let me pull up the settings for the paintbrush. I've got it set right now to basically it's a size 4 brush. Now I can vary that, and that's gonna, like if I have it here at 24, that's size with heavy pressure. Size with light pressure is about 4, and if I draw with that, let me close this like that, then the harder I push on the brush, the bigger it gets. And unfortunately, that's not an effect I really want for this particular drawing. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set this so that it's also 4.0, and then I'm going to close it. And now when I draw, no matter how hard I push, it's going to be the same size, because I want a consistent line. There are times when I do want this pressure sensitivity, but for what I'm doing today, I really don't. So I've got my layer messed up here, but you just come up here to the layer menu, click on that little hamburger icon, and then go down to clear. That'll take everything off, or I can use the eraser and take it off that way too. But I want to come over here and go with a black line. And again, mostly just because it's easier to see and it's going to stand out from the other colors. Now, I could do any number of things. Let's come over here and let's see. Let's take a simple radial symmetry, which is going to, I've got 4 sections with the radial symmetry, and I'm not really trying to do anything in particular. I'm just going to do some kind of pretty designs here. And again, I don't want to get real detailed here. Take that out like that. And I'm trying to do is maybe get a little kind of a rose effect there. And I don't know that really looks like a rose, that little center section. Let me try this. That's okay. It's not great, but it'll do. So, and again, I want to reemphasize, there's no right or wrong way here. So just, doodle, come up with a design, because what is important here is going to be what we're going to do next. So I'm going to turn off the radial symmetry. I don't really need that now. And the one thing I want to make sure is that everything is connected. I don't want any gaps. because I'm going to be using the selection tool, and the selection tool will be affected by that. I do have this little bump here. Again, normally I'd go in and clean that up, but I'm not going to worry about it today, because I just want you to get a feel for what we're going to do here. Now, last time, what I did was I went up and I used the selection tool, and then I have it set on magic wand, which means if I click in this enclosed section, it's going to select that, and I can color in that section. And if you hold down the shift key, then you can do multiple selections. And I used the flood fill, and with our marigold, oops, that's not right. I don't want a black flower. I would like more of an orange flower. With our marigold or marigold picture, I just selected that, and that's what we got. Now, what I want you to see is over here on the layer panel, the layer number 1 is colored in with that yellow. So I want to show you a different way to color that's going to give you a lot more flexibility this time. So I'm going to undo that and deselect all of those. And what we're going to do is we're going to add a new layer. So I'm going to add another layer here, come up to the plus, and now I've got layer 2. Now, for what I'm trying to do to work, I need layer 2 to be underneath layer 1. So I come over here to this little section, and I'm just going to pull layer 2 down, and now it is underneath layer 1. Now, I'm going to do the same thing, but let's, since I was thinking rose, let's go ahead with something maybe red, maybe a little kind of rose color here. And what I'm going to do, and I'm going to color those same outside petals again, and I'm going to select them the same way, but you're going to see something different happen. So I'm going to come back up first to my layer number 1, and that's my drawing layer. That's where I have my line art. And now I'm going to turn on the selection tool again, still on magic wand. And what I want to do is I'm going to select just like I did before. Whoops, sorry. And I'm going to hold down the shift key, and again we'll select those 4 outer petals. So far everything's the same. Now I'm going to use the flood fill, and I'm going to come in and click in one. It's going to fill all of those up just like it did before. And it's not working this time because I drew on the wrong layer. I'm going to just let you learn from my mistake, because you might do this too. It was supposed to show up down here, but it didn't. And you know why? Because I didn't select that layer. So let's undo everything. And let's go down here. That's what I want. So let's reselect now. Make sure I've got my select tool chosen and my magic wand. Hold down the shift key. Come on now. It's supposed to... now I'm getting all flustered and I'm doing everything backwards. You're going to learn from my mistakes. I still need to be up on layer number 1 for this part. Okay, so I'm back on select. And now I'm going to reselect these. There we go. Now, the mistake I made last time is I have to come down here. So I'm going to come down to the second layer. And now that I am in that second layer, even though the line art from the first layer is what's selected, now I'm going to come in with my flood fill tool. I'm going to select that, and I'm going to click in there, and then I'm going to come out. But now this time, this is what was supposed to happen last time. Notice the color is down on layer number 2. Layer number 1 is still white, black and white. Okay, so let's go up here. This little X here means deselect, just deselects everything. So let's stay with our little rose here, and I'm going to add another layer. Let's add another layer. Now at this point, it doesn't matter what order these other layers are in, but as long as they are below layer number 1, this will work. Okay, so I have to come back to layer number 1 again, and we're going to do this second set of petals. Okay, so let's come up here, choose select, make sure it's on magic wand, and select, whoops. Okay, and let's change the color just a little bit. So that it stands out from the other. Let's maybe make it a little bit more intense. Okay, and then I'll use my flood tool. And that's almost a little bit too intense, and I made the same mistake again. Okay, I colored up here, so I'm going to undo that. I need to be down here in layer 3, and now I'm going to change that color a little bit anyway, since that was a little bit too intense. Okay, let's come in here. Okay, that's a little bit better. And now that is in layer 3. Okay, so we're going to deselect. Okay, going to add one more layer. Layer number 4. Come up here to layer 1. And now I'm going to again select, hold down Shift key. Okay, and now I need to this time remember to go to layer number 4. Let's come back over here, change our color a little bit. And this time maybe we will go a little bit more intense and a little redder. Okay, I got my flood fill tool. Okay, and then again, you notice over here that layer is separate and the color is different. Okay, so I'm going to deselect. I come up, add one more layer, and this layer, what I'm going to do is let's come back up. Well, let's go back up to layer 1 and select again. I'm going to select these last 4. Hold down the Shift key. Okay. And then I'm going to come down to layer 5 and okay, that's going to be really much redder. Make sure I'm on layer 5. Go to my flood tool. Okay. And then deselect. Okay. Now, you can see some areas where the color has not made it all the way in, and if I were doing something intended to be a serious piece, then I would go in and fix that. But today I just am wanting you mostly to see how these other layers work below the line art layer. Each layer is separate. Each layer has its own colors. And for example, if I turn off the line art layer, then you have a totally different effect, which is kind of cool. But then I can also turn off each of these other layers over here. Just click on the little eye. And so what difference does this make? Well, there are a lot of things that you can do, and some of the techniques that we have already learned about. For example, let's say I would just like to work on, in fact, I'm going to turn that layer off, I'm going to turn that layer off, I'm going to go down here, and I just want to work on this outside layer. Well, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come down here, click in that layer, click on that little lock, and that's lock transparency. If it's like that, there we go, lock transparency. Now, the only thing that I can color is what I've already colored in. So what if I went to my airbrush tool? Let's say I wanted to just add a little bit of an airbrush feel here. Okay, I'm not getting anything, so I got to figure out what isn't working. There we go. Okay, I just wasn't getting enough. All right. Not getting enough pressure. Let's say I wanted to change that color. I could change that color entirely. In fact, I could make it very bright. Let's turn the rest of the layers on, see what happens. Actually, I kind of like it better with the black lines turned off. Yeah, I kind of like that. You can come in and you can play around and you can do a lot of different things. I've still got lock transparency on and I'm still on that first layer. What if I wanted to add a little bit of shading in? Let's come in here and check the settings on this. Okay. If I wanted to add a little shading, that's a little bit too big. Let's come back down here. Let's shrink this down. Maybe not that far. And what if I wanted to, let's make it a little darker. Now I can kind of come in and begin to tweak and add a little shading and make things just a little bit more interesting instead of just flat colors here. And start to give it a little bit of a dimension. And I could also come back here and add a little highlight. Right on the edge. And now I begin to give my rose a little bit of shape and dimension. Let me just speed it up and show you how you can add a little bit in. And remember, all I'm doing is using lock transparency and my airbrush tool. So okay, and let's zoom out a little. And you can turn on the dark if you like. Quite frankly, I like the light better. Another thing that I could do is I could come up here to layer 1, lock transparency on that, and let me just turn these other layers off for a second. Whoops, I want that one on. Okay, now that I have turned off the other layers, I could come in, and I've got that kind of on a nice pink. I could come in and actually, let me change the size here a bit. And the flow. I could come in just with a pink. Just change the color entirely. And then turn that all back on. And then I've got a nice stylized rose. Anyway, there's no right or wrong. The idea here is to play with some of these tools. So you've learned how to use layers in this. You've learned how to use lock transparency and the Airbrush tool. And so try this week to draw something similar. We've used the symmetry tool again. So try to draw something similar and use some of these tools and experiment, see what you can come up with. That's how you learn how to use these digital apps, is basically by playing with them. So go try this one out. I'm going to make one more change here just to make it pop a little bit more. I'm going to take my background and I'm going to turn it a little bit darker. How about that? And I kind of like that. And this is Mother's Day weekend, so I guess I did a rose for Mother's Day. Anyway, I hope you will enjoy this. I hope you'll take it and run with it, have a little bit of fun. And I will be back with another video lesson. We'll do another project. Still going to be working in mandalas and designs until we get a feel for a lot of the different tools that you can use. So enjoy this, have fun, and thank you for watching. I'm Jim Pence with See the Light. Be sure to like our this video on YouTube and subscribe to our channel, and also visit us at seethelightshine.com, where you can find some awesome art tutorials that some are free, and then we have art class and art projects, both of which can teach you how to draw well, and really have fun at it. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.